If you're into games that like to blend creature collection, turn-based combat, and classic RPG elements like Pokemon together, then Portal Fantasy might catch your eye. That is, if you don't mind a game that's having its fair share of issues. The trailers for this game sell the concept well, but honestly, that's where the polish stops. Despite being a full release and not early access, the game launched with a surprising number of problems, from frustrating bugs to game-breaking issues that block progression completely, making it feel like it was released in an unfinished state. Just to offer you some more information that you might not know of, I think it's worth mentioning that this game was originally part of an NFT blockchain for a browser version similar to a game like Illuvium. So what exactly went wrong with the release? To be fair, the developers have been rolling out patches to address a lot of the issues, from delayed interactions, broken dialogue, damaged bugs, and frame rate drops, but even after all of that, plenty of the problems still remain. The platforming is persistently rough, and on occasion there are invisible walls that block your path for no reason. If you try to open up your inventory while standing on a platform, it will suspend you into the air, because the game itself is not being paused. So when you do close your backpack, you will fall. Not to mention landing issues where you just clip through the terrain or object and fall and take damage. Boxes that you need to push onto pressure plates get stuck on nothing, and sometimes there's just no music. Then there's the Portable Master scaling. One moment you're fighting level 20 enemies, then the next, it jumps straight to Portable Masters that have level 45 Portables and no way to keep up. That's because the EXP gains drop to 0 after a certain point, locking you out of leveling. At that point you are forced to rely on bombs or put together a very specific team that targets weaknesses just to survive. Otherwise you will get one-shot by their momentum skills fully. The F5 reset button was something that I originally thought was odd, but I guess it makes sense after a while because you will be using it a lot. Whether it's to avoid backtracking or to escape bugs like getting permanently caught by castle guards or stuck behind barriers. Most players might not want to break a game like I tend to do, but still, it seems to be there for that very reason. It's also worth noting that the game only supports keyboard and mouse, offering no form of controller support. This does not help with the weird controls for platforming in the slightest. Presentation-wise, it does leave a lot more to be desired. The portable designs don't really stand out. Most feel like direct Pokemon. Tika looks like Cubone, Charpup is clearly Charmander inspired, and Dust Rider is basically Zubat without his mouth open. The UI is manageable, but it does still have odd delays. Inputs sometimes don't sync with what happens on screen, especially in battle. You'll see both portables attacking at once when it should all be one by one. It just doesn't feel fully fleshed out and where it needs to be. The game does not run in full screen either. There are black bars on both sides of the screen, and there's no option to fix this in the settings. It's not really a deal breaker, but it's not great. Movement has this oddly stiff feel to it when you get your hands on and actually move around and see the world sometimes sliced up, rather than having a fully pixelated design, which does feel lazy. The layout does take some time to get used to. Dialogue shows up at the bottom of the screen rather than above the sprites, while other elements are tucked away in the top corners. It feels too spread out, when your eyes have to wander for a bit to see what's exactly going on at any given time. Sound effects are very loud and a little bit grating, shuriken traps especially. As for the soundtrack, I didn't really hear a lot of it, because the audio would randomly cut out for very long stretches. These problems with the visual elements of the game will immediately be the first things that you notice. Unfortunately, it does prevent meaningful progression. At first, I was having a lot of fun, the first hour or so. Despite some leftover quirks from earlier patches, the game was actually solid. I caught some portables, leveled them up, and moved forward with the quest. But the deeper I got, the more the fun started to fade quicker than I had expected it to. Everything eventually turns into a grind and nothing feels enjoyable. The game expects you to catch hundreds of portables just to dispel them for their materials. To do that, you need scrolls. Scrolls cost a lot and have a very small chance of success because the higher catch rates are just too expensive to be really worth the time investment. So you do end up farming just to collect enough and start augmenting the portables in ways that actually matter for your team. These same materials are also used to craft dyes and to evolve portables, which does take an absurd number of Majesty or Majesty 2 stones. The payoff just isn't worth it. Evolved forms barely change anything beyond sprite tweaks. You will still have access to the same handful of skills that don't really do a whole lot, since you're bound to rely solely on basic attacks. You can have a team of 3 portables at any given time, and if you would like to swap them out, you have to go back to the city of Valeria. Each portable has a passive effect, so you're aiming to get a good synergy. In this case, Dust Rider has a 30% chance to crit, Tika can attack twice, and Charpup enters Reckless mode sooner. I'm not certain if these effects stack across the team. If they do, there is a decent chance for multiple passives to trigger at once, which will lead to a better formation. You can utilize a few other elements like blocking, but really it felt like overleveling to one-shot everything was the main goal, since the combat portion really isn't that fun to sit through. Just like Pokemon, you walk through bushes and find wild porebles to fight or catch. You'll gain EXP either way. The main focus is progressing through the main quests, but even that starts to feel like a chore, because the rewards are heavily underwhelming, when all you're going to get is a bit of currency and a lot of tomes that don't sell for much and don't add any real value to any of your porebles. I really would have liked to see more. More currency, more skills, and just a bit more thought put into the Portal evolution. Portal Fantasy once again had a really good trailer, but it feels like that's where most of the attention went. There is a wave of creature collection games on the horizon, and this game doesn't hold up in its current state in comparison. Because of this, I cannot recommend this game in the current state, not because it's boring or completely lacking in potential, but because it feels unfinished. The game plays more like an early access title, and it still needs a lot of time in the oven before it's even remotely playable, so it would be wise to wait a while before you eventually pick it up.